Hey guys, and welcome back to Becca Does Stuff. Today I wanted to talk about the not so glamorous, not very aesthetically pleasing, / maybe a little bit ugly side of my zero waste life. You will find on the internet lots of videos and images of the zero waste lifestyle, and it's not actually zero waste. I wanted to just go ahead and stress that, like, all of us create waste in some way or another, depending on where you live, depending on your finances and income, depending on your possible disabilities or whatever other things. All of these things can play a factor in how sustainable you can or cannot be. Zero waste is an imperfect term, first of all, and it was actually meant for the corporations, not for us. It was meant to have corporations who are producing the waste to be held accountable. But a lot of us have taken it on ourselves, adopted the term as part of our lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a beautiful thing. I love that there are people all around the world trying their best to rethink their purchases and habits and things like that to try to reduce their waste. However, that being said, it is not perfect and it looks different for everybody, and it is not always this Pinterest and Instagram worthy picture. I wanted to take you to my zero waste ugly side and let you see the reality of it. And I actually was finding that this video would turn out to be a little too lengthy if I didn't break it into two parts. So this is part one of a two-part series. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about on my zero waste, not so pretty lifestyle is my misshapen soap scraps. They are odd-sized and misshapen soaps that cannot be sold. I mean, they can be sold because I bought them, but they're not going to be sold with the normal beautiful soap that these sellers make. So instead of them going to landfill, which is very wasteful, I purchased them and they come package free. So no, I don't know what scents I'm getting or anything because there's no packaging or labeling on them, but that's okay because they all smell amazing. They make my bathroom smell great. I absolutely enjoy using them. My sister actually used to have an online Etsy shop where she sold soaps as well, and those smelled divine. I really wish that she would start making them again so that I could buy some and add them to my soap collection in my bathroom. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, sis. But that's another story. The other thing that I do is I have this little produce bag that it's 100% organic cotton, I believe. It came with a kit of other produce bags, but it's so small that I can't really use it for anything that I would get at the grocery store. So I put my soap in there and I lather up. It lathers really well. And I use that when the soap gets down to like a little nubbin too, like that little tiny piece that usually just falls down the drain. That doesn't happen because it stays in the bag and you get use out of every single little drop of your bar soap. Another thing that I do is I keep items to repair. When something breaks in my house or a shirt has a hole in it or something like that, I don't think, uh-oh, time to throw it out and get a new one. We have a closet in our front room that has 2 baskets full of things to be repaired, and it gets quite full sometimes, and it's not glamorous, it's not pretty, but it's better than sending it to the landfill because the landfill is a lot more ugly than my closet. We try to repair what we can, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So when those things cannot be repaired, we go to the next step, which is recycling. A lot of us have curbside recycling where you can recycle like boxes or whatever other things people recycle. But as you may know, they do not take things like household electronics or metal scraps. So we have a box in our garage that says electronic waste on it or e-waste on it. That's where we put old broken keyboards, headphones, whatever you can think of that's electronic that you might have in your house that breaks. And then when our city holds these special recycling events where things like that can get properly recycled and disposed of, we take them there. We do the same thing with our metal scraps. We have a collection of metal scraps in our backyard. It's pretty ugly. It's kind of an eyesore. Luckily, it's at an area that a lot of people don't see. It's ugly nonetheless, but what are you gonna do? I mean, if there's a way to properly dispose of something that we're aware of, we're gonna go ahead and do that instead of just putting it in the landfill. I also keep Blue Land and Clean Cult packaging in boxes under the sink in my bathroom for the companies to take back. I mail them back to the companies when the box is full, and they properly recycle or compost these items. Another thing that I do is I save my mascara wands. When the mascara is all dried out, I clean them off really well and I collect them until I've got a good amount of them, and I send them to a charity. It's an organization called Wands for Wildlife. I will link their website down below. They collect the wands that's used to clean little animals. If they are the victim of an oil spill, they use those to clean them off. So it's waste that I'm producing, but I feel good that at least a portion of it is going to good use. And I love animals, so. Another thing that I do is I reuse and repurpose miscellaneous containers. Pretty much any kind of container that comes into my household, I try to find a new use for, because again, I am not perfect. I still create waste. I still get things that come in packages. So some of the things that I do is I save jar lids and Tupperwares that don't have lids to them for my plants. Like my plants, sometimes when you water them, they get wet on the bottom and can cause mold or mildew on the surface that they're sitting on, or, you know, like warp wood if they're on wood. So anyway, I put those under there to catch the water. I also use jars to propagate plants in. We constantly have jars of plant cuttings all over our house, and we have a collection of those jars in our garage. I use candle jars to store my cotton swabs and my reusable face rounds instead of going out to Target or something and getting these little pretty containers that say Q-tips on it or whatever. I don't know. You know the ones I'm talking about, that they are made specifically for your cotton swabs and your cotton rounds. I don't feel like I need to go out and buy a container specifically for that when I have perfectly good containers that work just as well. They were not meant for it, but who cares? I also use jars for food storage. You will see dry goods in my pantry in jars, soups frozen in my freezer in jars, salads and whatever being brought to work for my lunch in a jar. I use jars for everything. I also save plastic takeout food containers, kind of like the little clamshell ones. We save those for starting plant seeds. They grow really well in there because it keeps like this kind of greenhouse effect with the lid on it. We also use them for storage. I've also used them for a pallet board for my art. I have kept old spinach containers for things like this one in my freezer that is used for keeping my bananas from falling through the drawer. Another thing that we do in this household is we compost. We have 2 compost buckets on our counter. One is for our compost that goes directly into our garden that is only vegetable scraps or fruit scraps. The other bucket that we have can take things like greasy foods, animal products, processed foods, things like that, and that goes into a larger bucket in our garage. When that bucket is full, which usually takes a couple weeks, we have a service that comes and picks it up for us. It's a commercial composting service that we pay for. And this service is pretty neat because after so long of being a member with them, you are able to get so many gallons of compost soil. So we get this soil delivered to our house and we use it in our garden, and our plants just love it. And then with the scraps that are in our kitchen for us that are just fruits and vegetables, we take out to the garden in these other buckets. We cut holes in the bottom, we drilled holes in the sides, stuck them in our garden. We put our compost in there and we put our browns in there, you know, like shredded up paper bags and things like that. And we put worms in there, and the worms are able to come and go freely from the buckets through the holes in it. So it really helps keep our garden really thriving. Another thing that I do is I save takeout trash. My boyfriend likes to eat takeout, And so when he comes home with said takeout, there is trash that comes with it. There are paper bags, sometimes plastic utensils that he didn't ask for, napkins, etc. I use the napkins to clean up gross things around my house that I wouldn't want to use my reusable towels for, and I also compost them. I use paper bags to line my compost bins in my kitchen so that it makes it easier to clean up, and also it gets composted, so it's perfect. I use the plastic utensils for some art projects, and I also bring them to work or travel with them because they're lighter than metal utensils. Some people go out and buy bamboo travel utensils, but I don't feel the need to do that. I don't see why you can't use your own silverware, and if you're going somewhere where you can't take metal, like maybe you're going on an airport and you can't take metal utensils with you, just reuse a plastic one that you inadvertently ended up with somehow. I save greasy pizza boxes that my boyfriend also brings into the household, and I shred them up, and those get put in the commercial compost. We have a box in our garage next to our compost bucket that is full of shredded up pizza boxes, greasy takeout bags, and things that cannot go into our own personal compost. And that is it for today's part 1 of my ugly / not so glamorous / not aesthetically pleasing, still working on the title, lifestyle. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and until next time, don't forget to show some love and like and sub. Take really good care of yourself. Bye guys. I also wanted to add here that I wanted to create this video for a while, but I wasn't exactly sure how to go about doing it or how exactly I wanted it to be a video. It's like I had the ideas in my mind, like, oh, I do this swap, I do that swap, but would anybody actually want to see this? You know, it's stuff that I'm proud of, but it's ugly. And then I saw Mary Johansson and Emma from The Simple Environmentalist do their videos on ugly zero waste living. I'll link them down below so you can check them out. Thanks to them, they inspired me and helped me see that, like, oh yeah, I can put this into a video. They're both really amazing women that make great low waste content. So if you're really into that sort of thing, check them out.